Look at you, so fancy.
Thank you. I haven't worn this since the last New Year's party I went to 5 years ago. I don't know if I can remember.
In 2003.
Yes. When I was much thinner.
If you hear something ripping, it's not her shirt.
No. It used to be baggier. Oh, well. New year, new me. No, kidding.
Right? Whatever.
That's not
beautiful.
going... Thank you.
And you're shiny.
Oh, thank you. I love to be shiny. You know I love a good glitter.
Sparkly.
Yes. You're looking quite beautiful yourself, miss.
It's just because it's darker in here. I got my, button-down shirt on.
I mean, you look so great in a button-down shirt.
It's the best I can do. As fancy as I get. Sorry.
Right. Anyway, wait, hang on. I've got my glow sticks, my bracelets.
Wow. You really are.
I'm really
all decked out.
I know. I quite actually had to.
Glow sticks on the arms, glow sticks on the neck.
I had others, but I bought them at the dollar store, and the other two necklaces didn't crack. I was like, well, that's what I get. My grandma always said you get what you pay for. So anyway, I've got my bracelets.
And those things are always kind of junky anyway, no matter where you get them.
Kind of, yeah. Anyway, guys, hi. History of a Haunting. Welcome to our New Year's Eve episode. We're actually going to be dropping this one the day before we usually do because I don't look like this on New Year's Day. I look way worse on New Year's Day. But I do always still have last night's makeup on, so.
She'll probably still be wearing that, but just.
Probably.
Alice Cooper around the eyes.
Oh, for sure. Hair fucking crazy everywhere. Lipstick smeared this way. And reeking of champagne and alcohol. Yeah. So now everybody knows what it's like to spend New Year's with me. So, yeah, we are ringing in the new year, and we have a couple of EVPs to go over, which are always a surprise to Laura. But, really? Yeah, they are. So here I have switched screens. We have special overlays for New Year's, so our little sign up ahead is not there. But basically, I just wanted to remind everybody that we are going to be introducing throughout the year different conspiracy theories. We had done those for our Patreons as exclusive content. There were a couple of times where we had released some of those episodes as regular episodes, and they were very well received, very, very popular. So Laura and I had a little podcast meeting and decided that we were going to pull the conspiracy theories from the Patreons and put them as regular episodes. So you're going to start seeing some of those come through. And they can be anything from that's within the paranormal umbrella. So it can be anything from UFO sightings to cryptids to genuine just like medical oddities, anything like that. We're gonna start interspersing those with our history and our hauntings, as long as they fall under the paranormal umbrella. We might even toss in a couple of creepy pastas. I do love a good creepy pasta, and some.
Me too.
Some stuff. Yeah, some stuff that is just kind of weird and kind of out there. For our Patreons, if you want to come on over and join us on Patreon, we're going to be bringing you a true crime story every month. That is something that we have had requested a number of times from Patreons and from regular listeners. So you want to come on over to Patreon and join us. We're going to be doing a true crime story every month. Laura and I will alternate months, and we never know what the other one is going to cover. Our wonderful, wonderful director of marketing, Jennifer DeSimon, and my best friend is keeping track of who does what. Much to her...
She does a great job. Yeah, much to her chagrin, probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like, you guys are a pain in my ass.
Really?
It's true, we are.
Really? Yeah. So... Yeah, we're doing that. We've got a lot of fun stuff coming up in 2022. We are very, very excited to be able to finally announce that History of a Haunting podcast and Southern Entities Paranormal, of which Laura is now a bona fide member of as an investigator in training, we are going to be going and doing a private overnight investigation of Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, and that is going to be happening on May 21st. So Laura did not come with us when we went back in August. We did a public overnight. And so she's actually going to be joining us for this private overnight. We have, I think we're up to about 28 people that are going. A lot of really phenomenal paranormal investigators are joining us for this one, guys. Tony and Cherie Rathman. Of course, Chris and Audra are going to be there. Southern Entities is going to be fully represented. We have Anthony Simonelli and his team. We've got Donna and Connie of Spirits of the Southeast. They were actually on our recap of the Trans-Allegheny investigation that we had done. They're going to be there. Piedmont Paranormal, headed up by Scott Reddick, including Zach Bennett, Mike Bennett. Mike Bennett, if you guys watched the Trans-Allegheny episode, he was actually the one when we had done a Essie's method on the violent women's ward. The spirits on that floor called out Zach's dad, Mike, by name. So that was really interesting. That was a lot of fun for us. I mean, probably not for Zach's dad, but yeah,
maybe less fun for him.
Yeah, they don't like the women. They really, really love the guys. So yeah, and he was noticed for sure. So they're going to be there. And we are hoping to have some very, very, very special guests once that their schedule becomes a little bit more clear and solidified. We will make that announcement later on. It is a private event, guys. It's not something that's public. We're certainly not going to be, advertising it or whatever. But we do want to let you know that we are going to be doing it. So that's another mini episode that's going to be coming your way. We're going to be doing it the weekend before Memorial Day in May. So we're super excited about that. And I believe that is all we have for EVPs for 2021. Laura, do you have anything you want to chit chat about before we get going?
Are you making a resolution for New Year's?
No, I'm not. I'm not. No. Actually, my friend Brianna that I had met several years ago, she had posted something on Facebook about not making resolutions. That kind of goal is very intimidating and hard to achieve. So every year she just sets a thing, and I have started to adopt this as well, is how can I just be better? Either be better in my personal life, be better as a friend, be better as a coworker, just how can I be better? That seems to be a little bit more genuine and a little bit more manageable. I think everybody wants to have an easier life, and I think resolutions are a part of that. But to say, hey, you know what? In 2022, I'm going to lose 150 pounds. Well, that's very difficult. But just to kind of try to be a better person, a better human, to try to kind of get your soul to vibrate on a higher level is something that really resonated with me. So I don't ever make a resolution. I just want to be better than I was this year and the year before. And, so how about you?
I definitely follow that, but I mean, throughout the year, I think we constantly have to be looking at our lives and the things that we're doing and deciding what works and what doesn't, and be trying to better ourselves. And, you may have one part of your life that's going like perfect, for a while,
right?
And it takes a shit, and that just is life. That's what happens, and we're gonna have to be like, oh, I better fix that. All right.
Yeah.
So, and it seems like nothing is always like, I mean, at least in my life, a lot of times, like, certain aspects will be going really, really well, and then one will kind of be not.
Right.
So, you kind of change tactics and...
Yeah.
have to kind of address one situation or another. And I think that you just have to take it in stride too. That's part of the human experience, right? Change is constant. So even if something is perfect today, it's not going to be perfect tomorrow. And what is shit today won't be shit tomorrow.
Right, exactly. I agree. And it's kind of all in how you react to it, the kind of emotion that you pay to things. There have certainly been a number of times where I have reacted extremely and poorly to something.
I don't believe it.
I know. I want to come clean.
I appreciate it.
To situations that required a significant reaction, but I took it to like the nth degree. So I've been working really hard on changing that part of me throughout this year to kind of take a step back and maybe think a little before I spout out whatever the fuck I'm about to say. Unfortunately, it has cost me some very important friendships to me, my behavior and the way that I do that and react to that. And I certainly don't want to lose anybody else that I love very, very much. So I work really hard to be a little bit more chill in situations that require a little bit more chill than I've given it.
I think we're all guilty of that too. And that's great. Like, that's exactly what I think the idea of a resolution is for, is to look at your life and say, okay, this is where I can improve. And again, with making goals, what is that, the acronym, like SMART, they should be, isn't that what it is? Like something that should be like something you can measure, something that's like attainable, that's realistic. You have a time frame for it. Basically, I don't remember what all the they actually stand for, but making
sounds
like
fabulous.
You said, like, you're not gonna go, I'm gonna lose 150 pounds by February 1st. Like, that's not gonna happen. But you could, be like, I'm gonna exercise more. I'm gonna do this. Like, start slow and.
Let me just dust off the cobwebs from the elliptical in my garage. I could start there. I'm such a flighty fucking person anyway, and I am easily distracted. So resolutions don't work for me because I am never resolved to do any one thing all the time. It's just, whatever floats my boat, whatever's blowing up my skirt that day. So I just think the one constant is me. It's my soul. It's how I take care of the people in my life and the things that I love. But I'm never resolved in anything. So to declare a resolution for the new year doesn't work for me. I would like to get on that elliptical a little bit more though, because according to my doctor on Friday, I really need to. But
I need to get back to working out. I've been really fucking not. So I should probably try to do that.
Oh my God. It's, that
has kind of gone to the wayside. I have gotten a lot of other shit done. And again, that's part of it, right? Like, you might be doing really good at one thing and then other stuff comes up and you have to focus on that. So there you go,
I mean, I'd like to say,
right?
I'd like to say that I have gotten other shit done other than exercise, but I can't really say that I have. The
podcast is great. You got that.
And
it's a fucking New Year's.
We made it to New Year's, and
accomplishment.
I opened up a champagne bottle all by myself with your guidance.
You're welcome. I'm here for you. I mean, we celebrated 100th episode. We did a bunch of investigations this year. We had just great times in many different places around the country.
Oh, God. You fell in love with West Virginia. You moved. You have a new house. You have a new love. You love West Virginia.
We're going to go back.
We're going to go back. You have a new kitten, and he is amazing and wonderful.
He's a terror.
He is a terror.
Yeah. It's good.
It is good.
Healthy. Yeah. We can't ask for anything else.
Shockingly, I'm kind of surprised that none of us got COVID yet. And I hope that holds.
No, me too. Fucker, I'm going on a trip.
We're
scared about getting stuck.
We're recording this episode of the couple days before Laura actually leaves on her vacation. But it's been 2 weeks ago. She's long back by now. She doesn't have COVID. Everything's great. But yeah, we're doubling up on episodes because she's on vacation, I'm on vacation. It's a whole big thing. What do you want to do what's one thing that you haven't done before that you would like to try to get done in 2022?
Something I haven't done before. I don't know. That there's something in particular that I haven't done. I really want to focus on my home space and making that my own. And
for sure,
we're still getting settled and getting Zane, settled and just kind of very secure in his surround. Make it just really nice, happy home.
Yeah,
very fun. He's doing great in school already, so just keeping that going, getting him back. As now that he's been vaccinated and stuff, kind of maybe do back into some extracurricular activities.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah, stuff like that. I mean, honestly, that's kind of where my focus is that kind of stuff.
Good.
I love to travel. We'll be doing that. We already have some plans, you and I.
Yeah.
And
I'm excited.
Zane's going to Europe and with me, and that kind of stuff. Spending time with family.
You're going to join him in Europe? Cool. He let you go?
He did. It was really nice of him. Focusing on my, my relationships, my spending time with my family, my friends, and people that I care about.
Yeah.
That kind of home stuff is really what's most important to me right now.
Yeah.
Just having that, especially having the house now, it feels very like it's permanent, right? Like it's a real thing. It's not.
It is.
Home. This is where we're gonna be. So it kind of lends that like putting roots down,
Mm-hmm.
and really exploring that as a family and with the people in our life that are close to us. So I'm excited for that.
Good. I'm so glad. Your home is so beautiful. I just love it. I am super excited for the pool parties you're gonna have with that amazing pool area.
I am too. I know Zane, as soon as it probably breaks 80 or 85, it'll probably be back in there.
I would say 75 is good.
Yeah, he's nuts. I won't be in there until it's over 100, but it needs to be hot.
Yeah. You'll get it.
Mm-hmm.
I sure did enjoy my trip to Arizona. I wasn't there for very long, but Arizona is my home, and the minute we landed, I was like, oh my God, I'm home. The minute you and I pulled out of the garage at the airport, I'm like, I know exactly where we're going. I know I love Phoenix so much. I had the best time, and I was so glad to be there. It was a lot of fun. So, yeah.
What about you? What's your kind of focus for the year? Something new you want to do, or?
Oh God, I have already got a full calendar. God, it's ridiculous. I've already got a full calendar, which I'm glad for. I have the life I've always wanted to have. I've got wonderful new friends. My whole family and I are very, very happy back here on the East Coast in Raleigh, and the weather has been amazing. There are seasons. We've been so enjoying the seasons. We're kind of annoying our cousins because we're like, everything is so green, and oh my God, look, the leaves are changing.
It's so green.
It's really, but now it's not so green anymore. Now it's like you can actually see through the trees, and we're like, oh my God, look, it's cold. Like we wake up every morning, there's frost on everything. The dogs are kind of like, what the fuck is happening?
Why is it so hard?
Right. But for 2022, I just kind of want to expand my paranormal experience. I want to learn from some of the most amazing paranormal investigators, a lot of which, like I said, are coming with us to Trans-Allegheny. I'm very excited about that. I would like to go to a couple of paranormal conventions, which we are planning for August. We're going to go to Gettysburg Bash in August. Of course, my niece Emma is graduating from high school. And so we're going to go to Pittsburgh for that. She is the last of mine and Jen's kids to graduate. And she goes to Paris her grandmother's taking her to Paris, so I'm super excited to be like, you need to go here, you need to go there, and this is Versailles, and everything about Versailles is amazing, and please, I gotta live vicariously through this kid.
Nice. I love Paris.
Mainly, I just want to kind of expand my paranormal knowledge and get better at... God, reviewing evidence is a tedious chore, but I want to get better at sound editing so that I can dim the noise in the background to bring the EVP through. I want to get better at that. And then, just continue meeting amazing people, like-minded people, and, drag you along with me.
Yes, you do. And it has been just a great experience, I have to say. All the people are so awesome. I've been having just a great time. So
Good.
I love it. Glad. It's definitely a group of really wonderful people. Everybody that I have met, either doing the podcast or investigating, have been just amazing. Mm-hmm. It's crazy how you make these fast friends, kind of,
right? Yeah.
Like,
they're the best.
You do one thing and then you're like fast friends with these people, and it's it's great. It's just a really nice group of people that do this, and they're very caring and supportive, and it's really nice to be around. So
it is, it is a lot of fun, and I definitely would love. I really, really want you and Zane to come back and visit. I would love us to take our boys to DC.
That would be a lot of fun.
Oh God, I think that they would both have the best time. Koi, when we went through DC on the way to Philadelphia, when we went to Eastern State, he wanted to go to the Spy Museum, and I'm like. But at the time that we were there, they were still closed because of COVID, and they were opening back up the day after we were already back home. So,
bummer, man.
Yeah, I mean, but I think we would have a lot of fun. I certainly would love for our families to go on vacations together. We've got a beach here, and come on out. We can get an Airbnb and go to the beach, and
I'm all for it.
Yeah,
it'll be fun. Zane will love it. He loves you, so.
Yeah, he's the best kid. I love him so much. So anyway, now that we have talked for 22 minutes about our hopes,
our favorite topics,
yes, our hopes and dreams for the future, why don't we actually have an episode that we want to talk about. We have a location that is amazing and wonderful and kind of freaky. And Laura, you might have a ghost in your house right now.
I do. It's the ghost of. Somebody has a stick and is probably dancing. I don't know. He has this love of this weird, it was a flag. The flag is gone. Now it's just a wooden stick, but, he puts on his little, music videos, and I don't know why the stick is so important, but it's his battle baton. And he just starts, going crazy. I don't know. 8-year-old boys are crazy. I don't know what to say.
I mean...
yeah.
Yeah, they are. And if he goes the path my son has gone... He'll be the same at 21, frankly. So look forward to that. Anyway, guys, we actually do have a location to talk to you about today, and it's a really, really amazing location. Laura, why don't you let them know where we're kicking this year off? Or no, actually ending the year, because this comes out on December 31st. So where are we taking them for the last location of 2021?
The last episode is going to be Randolph County Infirmary /asylum.
Yes, in Indiana. So, baby girl, drop your sources on us.
All right. So my sources are bumpinthenight.net, hauntedrandolphcounty.com, fox59.com, wikipedia.com, and wagonpilot.com.
Wagon Pilot, that's a new one.
Yeah, it's like somebody's blog, but they had
cool. I used one too.
Visited and gone through with the owner, so they had some really good insight into how the building was actually set up and stuff, and how it is now. So
cool.
Yeah, it's
all right. All right. Well, let's get into the history of this place, because it's an asylum. It's an infirmary. It's not great, guys. So cheers to me with the champagne. Let's just lug it back and let her tell us all about the badness.
I'm here for it. All right. So this property is located on US 27 south of Winchester, Indiana. It was originally owned by a farmer in the late 1800s, and him and his wife offered to house people who were unable to live alone in exchange for money from the state.
Oh.
So that's how this place first started.
Okay.
The first actual infirmary was built in 1851, but it was destroyed 2 years later in a fire. A second infirmary was built in the exact same spot, but a few years later it was closed when the county deemed the living conditions unsanitary.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say another fire. I was like...
No, not yet. No, it just was super gross.
Not yet.
It's worse. They had to close it. It was so,
Maybe the fire would have helped the super gross.
It might have.
Okay.
All right. At that time, at the time of 1882, description details constant care of from 45 to 70 inmates, with the greatest number at one time reported as 78. There were also, at the time, homeless children residing in the institution, about 6 to a dozen homeless children.
So that you said this was in the 1880s?
Yeah, in the 1880s when they had to close it down. They had already had like 78 people in there.
Oh,
and some children as well.
Okay.
So when they rebuilt this third infirmary, the one that's still standing today, that was built in 1899.
I have pictures. Keep talking. Keep talking. I got pictures.
All right. So the new, nearly 50,000 square foot building, the current structure, it housed 6 large wards, several private rooms, laundry, kitchen, separate dining rooms for women and men. The property included a pump house, barn, hay barn, machine shed, garage, or cell house, 2 garages, kitchen, or a chicken house, and it's all on 350 acres. On the property, there's also an unmarked cemetery housing up to 50 graves.
Did you say chicken house? I'm sorry, I'm stuck on that.
Yes, chicken house.
Okay, you know what?
Chicken house.
2022, the podcast needs a piggery and a chicken house.
We're going to have to do that at your house. My son's room might qualify as piggery, but let it go for a minute.
My dogs might make that a problem. We might have to get some separate land, but I really would love to close out 2022 with a piggery and a chicken house.
All right, we'll work on it.
Okay.
Right.
Patrons, help us out.
Right? Yeah, go ahead and donate for the chicken coop.
And the piggery.
In the asylum, there are 2 main floors where residents or patients lived. There are little rooms line the hallways running the central length of the building. At the rear are larger open rooms where they could congregate, eat meals, visit with family and each other. The basement runs the full length of the building and also has several distinct spaces. There is a holding area where unruly residents were held until local authorities could take them. There were speaking of the piggery, living quarters for patients who may not have been able to mingle with others. And, there's just a lot of kind of depressingness, I guess, in the history of places like this.
Yeah.
You have to, hold those people down there in the basement, kind of, sad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like you said, a lot of places, especially ones that are like part asylum. I mean, It's the same all over the world. We talked in Carrington, like what was happening in the United States was happening in New Zealand and London and all over the world. It's just
exactly
a thing. It is what it is.
They also had a large kitchen, laundry room, and butcher shop that were mostly staffed by Randolph's residents.
Okay.
They also did a lot of the farming and etc.
Sure.
The attic is supposed to be beautiful if you like old buildings.
Yes, I have a picture of it.
Oh, you do? Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah, so it's got all that wood, and now they do actually use it now for weddings and stuff. There's a wood floor down, I believe, and stuff still, and or maybe not in that part, but in other parts. Yeah.
It's a really huge attic.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, look at
it's on the floor.
It goes so far back, you couldn't see. It's really insane. Yeah.
Yeah, they say that residents worked on projects up there and may have, used it as a place to kind of get some quiet time.
Which you and I could appreciate.
100%.
There's very little quiet. There's a very little quiet in our lives.
There's never any quiet in my house.
No.
So the residents that were housed there, they include the mentally and physically disabled, unwed mothers, the aged, orphan children, and along with whole families that were just too poor to live independently.
Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so the county home was the original homeless shelter, foster home, mental institution, and rehab facility.
That's very rare, though, that whole families are put in a location or can be in a location without, like, being separated for whatever reason. That's interesting.
Yeah. And, it doesn't say, like, how they were housed, but just that it was basically they kind of just threw everybody that just didn't fit into this place.
And it wasn't a very big place. Like, it's not the size of Trans-Allegheny or Waverly Hills or Pennhurst. I mean, it's really small.
Yeah, I think you're dealing with a much smaller population, though, too. You're not close to quite the population centers that you are in, like, the other place, where they're coming from kind of all over.
Right, true.
Yeah. While this was in operation, there were a number of tuberculosis deaths, as is pretty typical for these kind of establishments.
In the era,
yeah. One person was pushed out of the second floor window by other residents. There are also reports of people hanging themselves. It is unknown how many deaths occurred during the infirmary's history. One estimate I found had it at about 200.
Yeah, I saw the same thing. Yeah, I saw the same estimate.
Yeah. So the county ran the infirmary until 1994. And
wow!
Then it was
all right.
Purchased. Yeah, and it did not close. A lot of these places that were built in the United States, they closed in the 30s. A lot of these, or were turned into something else, like a real full asylum, or they had a very specific thing. But a lot of them were closed.
Yeah. Okay. So like almshouses and things like that were closed early. Okay.
Yeah, no, this one ran until 1984.
Wow, okay.
It was then purchased and became a care center. That closed in 2009 and only had about 5 residents that were living there at the time. And it was mostly being used as a county storage facility.
Oh, okay.
In 2015, Chris Musgrove, Adam Kimmel, and Dan Allen purchased the building from the county. And due to the history of the building, they wanted to restore it. Right. And due to its reputation, they do rent it out to Ghostbusters. Ghost Hunters. I mean, maybe the Ghostbusters too.
I mean, that's kind of what we are. I remember when we had, Chris and Audra and I had discovered Montgomery House, which is a house built in the 1830s down in Mount Gilead, North Carolina. When we had discovered it and we wanted to investigate it because Chris is a sensitive and he knew that it had some spirit activity going on in it, we had to present and kind of pitch ourselves to the Montgomery Historical Society. And Chris and Audra could not go that day, so I went. And when I got there, the one guy who is a lovely man we call Captain Dave now because we have a relationship now. He was like, "So are you one of them Ghostbusters?" And I was like, "Yes, sir." Nice. It ended up being really very fortunate that it is haunted, and now we have opened up Montgomery House to tours. And all of the money goes to the Historical Society. So, but yeah, I'll never forget that. He was like, "Are you one of them Ghostbusters?" And I was like, "Yes, sir."
We need to get you coveralls.
Yeah, we absolutely do. And a jetpack, or not a jetpack,
proton pack, or whatever they were.
Yes, whatever that is. Somebody tell us what that is.
We'll get you like a dustbuster. You can pull out.
That's what we should go as for Halloween next year.
Oh, for sure. 100%. I'll totally get
100%. And Eddie can be Slimer.
100%. So there were some notable events that happened in this hospital and people. There was a Miss Mary J. Blair who died in the poor asylum shortly after giving birth to a child. Previous to her death, she wrote a note and addressed it to a man named A.H. Green of West Liberty, Ohio, who afterwards confessed to being the father of the child. He professed to having been ignorant of the whereabouts of the woman during her stay in the asylum. So this is taken from the Cambridge City Tribune in 1873. So this is stuff that actually made the newspapers.
Oh, wow, okay.
Residents.
Okay.
So as I go through these were actually taken from newspaper articles at the time.
Okay.
That they, it was notable news, I guess. So Sam Preston was an inmate there, and he tried to commit suicide by driving a penknife blade into his head with a flat iron.
Ah!
Yeah. The doctor pulled out the blade, and Sam did not succeed in shuffling off.
He's shuffling off. Wow. All right.
Right.
Oh God. Oh God.
Yeah, that's hard to hear, isn't it? It's a little bit.
Yeah.
You can't help but kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody take a slug for that one.
Right. Exactly. The Mummy Mose, which had been on an exhibition at fairs and reunions in Western Ohio and Eastern Indiana for several years.
I have heard of this
buried.
mummy.
Have you?
I have heard of this, yes. I think My Favorite Murder covered it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So that mummy was buried at the Randolph County Infirmary in 1918. Mose was the body of a tramp found murdered in a barn near Lima a few years before then. And no one claimed the body, so a local undertaker took charge and embalmed and preserved it after it was placed on exhibition. The body began to show signs of decay, and so then it had to be buried.
As they do.
Something. It wasn't
You can only lug a body around for so long. It then starts to leak.
I don't know why you had to say the word leak, but yes.
Ooze.
Right,
drip. There literally is no other word I could use that would make it better.
No, it's not going to make it better.
No.
There was the death of a 10-year-old boy named Orlando Hyatt in 1924. Thomas Gray, who was 68, died at the infirmary, and his brother, James Gray, died there also a short time before him. Randolph Spencer, who was 69, died at the infirmary. His death, it is believed, was largely due to exposure. The aged man was found in a little cabin where he had been living in the 20s.
Was that on the property or near it?
Yeah, I think he was kind of like a hermit, and then they kind of took him over there. But yeah, kind of weird.
Okay.
William Miller was 73. He was an inmate that dropped dead while loading an infirmary wagon with coal from a car. So, again, this place, and that was also in the 20s, they did use them for labor. So they,
sure,
did a lot of the work.
Yeah.
A man named Philip G. Fraze, who was 55, he was also an inmate. He died after being struck by an automobile as he walked behind a team of horses near the infirmary. And that was in the 40s. That's just kind of a weird story. These are just some of the deaths and oddities that took place on or around the infirmary.
Okay.
That I was able to find.
I'm so glad we're closing out the year with this joyful location.
It's just wonderful, right?
With our gold glittery background, and I've got champagne and wine and glow stick.
And people drove stuff into their heads with penknives, yeah.
And with a flat iron. Oh, God.
And that is what I have for our wonderful history of the Randolph County Infirmary.
You know what? That was really, really excellent. I had a hard time. I have a fair amount of sources, and not a lot of them covered all of that. So, great job. As always, great job.
Yeah, it is. There was hard to find a lot of the stuff. You can find kind of what it looks like now, what it kind of set up.
Yeah.
How it was set up before, but trying to find some more of the information of like people's lives and such there.
Yeah.
And deaths was a little bit hard, so I wanted to include some of that, so to give people an idea of what was happening at the place.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I have this place. It's got a lot of violent hauntings, you guys. A lot of violent hauntings. I do want to go here, but it's kind of like Brushy Penitentiary. It's kind of like Moundsville. I am nervous to go there because I feel like I have to get a little bit more experience under my belt before I go to one of these places. Especially this place, which seems to have a lot of violent paranormal activity, which we are going to get to here in just a moment. We will be right back with the hauntings of the Randolph County Infirmary just after this. Okay, so let's do my sources. They are WinchesterNewsGazette.com, UnseenPress.com, which Laura, this was a fabulous source.
Cool.
Yeah. OnlyInYourState.com, GhostResearchSociety.com, and my favorite show ever, Destination Fear. So, as Destination Fear is actually where I got this location. Frankly, I get a lot of our locations from that show because they go to places that are not widely known, and I love that. It's an important show that brings attention to a lot of really amazing locations like this one.
Did you see? I have to say, I'm sure you saw it. Did you see that? I just saw the promotion for their next episode. They're going to Ireland. They're going to Loftus Hall. Oh my god! I was like, I can't wait. I have to watch that.
Oh, they're going to Loftus Hall? I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
I mean,
cool, huh?
Once they went to Phelps, I was like, and then that was just kind of it. Like, I watch it every week, but I didn't know it was Loftus Hall. Oh my god, that's gonna be such a good one. We should do a watch party. Except we can't. We can't. It's this Saturday, and you're gonna be in fucking Amsterdam.
Oh yeah.
But you're gonna be so close to Loftus Hall. You should go. Just go. Right? There you go. Yeah, take a picture. There you go. TikTok that shit. Okay. So, as Laura had mentioned in her wonderful history, it wasn't the greatest place, and most folks that ended up here were people that, like with all of these places, nobody wanted. Right? The mentally challenged, the handicapped, single women. So we were fucked. Back in the day, we were fucked. They were separated by gender, and there were 1,487 people that lived there during its entire time it was open, which isn't much given, some of the bigger places that you hear of when you hear asylum, infirmary, what have you. It wasn't a lot of people, but for its size, that was pretty significant. So it is alleged that the patients were over-medicated and, quite honestly, were unaware of the pills they were taking, which is just horrifying and scary, the thought, really.
I think that's pretty typical for all of the asylums in places like this during that time. We talked about on one of the last episodes,
Carrington.
When I had read that Stephen from the nurse that had worked there, that they didn't even know what they were really giving them.
Yes,
they didn't understand medication either so much. It was just broad spectrum, kind of keep them sedated, and that's just what they did. Keep everybody under control.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about this place is that it's in Winchester, Indiana, which isn't really near any major city. So in the early days, there were no doctors or nurses readily available out there. There was a superintendent, and apparently this one individual was responsible for overseeing the welfare of these patients or inmates as they came to be known, and the feeding of all of them 3 times a day. But as far as healthcare, they were kind of on their own.
Nice.
And so they were just
not nice for them, but
right, yeah, snarky nice, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least 50 former residents are buried in unmarked graves at the back of the property. So now Indiana actually has a very avid paranormal scene, which I have heard about in my various, paranormal groups, the people that I'm friends with. Indiana is apparently very paranormally active. It's got rumored haunted bridges, tunnels, cemeteries, so much more. However, there is one place in particular, this haunted asylum, that is still continuing to gain a lot of attention for its really harrowing experiences when you go there. So if you dare, you might actually want to check out the Randolph County Infirmary. As you had mentioned, the building was purchased by one of the gentlemen was Adam Kimmel, and he is a paranormal investigator. So he and these other two gentlemen purchased the property hoping to find rich paranormal activity, and so far they haven't really been disappointed. Visitors claim they hear footsteps, see objects being hurled around, particularly in the attic.
Okay.
Yeah. And see shadowy figures lurking. Like I said, this is a very violent paranormal. I was some champagne, I'll tell you. The paranormal activity is apparently very violent. So I had read a blog about a group that had visited. And they said, the writer said, quote, "That doll wasn't there 2 nights ago. And when I came around the corner and saw that doll standing in the hallway, I may have leaked a little." And they showed a picture. It was in the basement. And it was a teddy bear that was dressed as a bride. And when he made his first walkthrough, it was just a basement. And when he came back through again, there was a doll standing there.
Ew.
Yeah. So with any supposedly haunted building, it is best to enter with an open mind. But that openness extends 2 ways. First, to have a willingness to accept that not everything that is seen, heard, or felt in an old building is because of ghosts. And that's kind of the cornerstone of a legitimate paranormal investigator. Like, you need to find the answer and the cause for whatever you see, hear, or feel. And if there is no logical explanation for it, maybe you need to look into a paranormal explanation. The second, and it's equally important, that people are willing to accept that some things are actually beyond our understanding or ability to explain. Do ghosts haunt the halls of Randolph County Infirmary? Or is it maybe just wishful and overactive imaginations? By the end of what I talked to you about, Laura, I would like you to answer that question and see what you think. So in the case of the doll, excuse me, that suddenly appeared in the hall, the simplest explanation, that someone moved it there, is completely accurate in this case. A recent guest has spent a good portion of his overnight visit moving things around, trying to scare the staff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, dick. Don't love it. Don't do that. That's not... I mean, I'm sure you think it's funny, but for people that are genuinely trying to see if there is life after death, don't do that. That's just a dick move. And on this guy. But beyond the initial jump scare of rounding the corner in the dark to find a creepy looking bride doll staring at you, the incident is easily explained and just as quickly brushed aside. What's actually more difficult to explain is the presence of voices, the extreme cold temperature fluctuations, and photographs with distinctive faces and bodies in them. Paranormal groups have conducted investigations at the infirmary and had findings that suggest there really could be ghosts in this building. So there's a group named Shadows. It's a paranormal group, and it's from Greenfield, Indiana. They were at the infirmary a couple of years ago, and they were conducting their second investigation of the building. Having found evidence on thermal cameras of a figure walking toward them, shadows moving through the halls, doors slamming, and extreme cold spots. So this follow-up investigation is to confirm their findings from the first time around. And the time of year that they went, it was warmer that time. So they were super excited about that. But the thing of it is that temperatures that affect old buildings, they do affect old buildings. And they actually cannot be discounted if you're on a ghost hunt. That's one of the most important things. If you experience that, you need to find the reason why. Is there an open window? Is there this? Is there... Sometimes there's just no reason why. We did have, actually, at the 1910 jail, if you remember, there were some areas of the prison that were a lot warmer than others. There were some cells that were warmer than other cells. So that's kind of important, because the idea being, again, that if an entity is trying to manifest, it's going to try and draw as much energy from its surroundings as it can to manifest. That includes the temperature of the air. So if it gets colder, they're pulling that energy out of the air to try and manifest. So it's getting colder, that heat energy. So people that have driven up to the building have sworn that they have seen someone standing in the corner of the west room on the second floor. This one man said that there was a large figure that stood with his arms raised and he waved at them. When they came into the driveway, the guy in the window moved to another window, rested his arms on the window and looked out. So, of course, they naturally thought that there was somebody inside, somebody that was waiting there to greet them for their investigation.
Right, you would think that, of course.
Right, exactly. So when the guy asked... Right, exactly. So when the guy asked the member of staff that greeted him, he was told that there was actually only one person in the building, and that was who he was speaking with. There was nobody else in the building.
Huh.
Yeah, I was like, that's kind of creepy, and I would be like... That would be my first destination in the building. So the guy said we normally do a walkthrough, but this one was different. He was actually getting really weird feelings and sensations from the building almost from the minute he set foot in it. So he started taking pictures with his Google Pixel phone in bursts. And I really enjoy taking pictures with bursts, especially in a paranormal location, because a burst can take 10 to 20 pictures depending on how long you have your finger pressed down, and you could catch something in one of those quick bursts. This particular individual was part of the group that that unseen press source that I told you about at the beginning. You guys, I couldn't share the pictures simply because I couldn't save them. But I encourage you, Laura, and I encourage you listeners to Google search Randolph County Infirmary Unseen Press's Facebook page. The album is called Randolph County 11/17/18. November 17th, 2018. This person posts 5 pictures of his bursts, and in it is of the basement, and my God, I so badly wanted to save these pictures, but I couldn't. It's just a dark basement, and then when you use your phone cameras flash in a burst, and it looks like there is long black fingers kind of wrapping around, coming out from nothing, poking out around a corner and wrapping around a wall. You've got to check it out. Again, it is the Unseen Presses Facebook page, album titled Randolph County 11, 17, 18. You've got to check it out. It's absolutely insane.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's really wild. The next thing I want to talk about is Ida Gunkle. Now, did you come across her? I feel like I asked you earlier today.
I don't believe I did.
Okay. So in the 1930s, this woman was dropped off at the facility by her son who could no longer care for her. It's a common story with these locations. She was slowly losing her mind due to having neurosyphilis.
Ooh.
Yeah. The staff was not able, or was not capable, rather, of taking care of her mental illness. And so she lived in a room in the basement that staff would lock at night. And essentially she was abandoned by her family. I did come across another source that had researched her. And they found that her husband, Francis Orange Gunkle, had neurosyphilis. So if you're not familiar with syphilis, it can be dormant or it can be turned into neurosyphilis, which essentially turns your brain into Swiss cheese over time. It may not exhibit any other symptoms, but it can be detected in a blood test. And if you have it and you don't know you have it, this is what happens to you.
Is that what Al Capone had?
He did have syphilis. Yeah.
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 Because then he went, he went crazy too, right?
He did, yeah. So after he was released from Alcatraz, he retired or went to his Florida property and died eventually of syphilis. Went nuts.
Neurosyphilis, yeah.
And it was starting to exhibit itself when he was in Alcatraz too.
Right.
So, yeah. So, on Frank's World War I registration in 1917, it stated, quote, "This man is a physical wreck. He died of pneumonia with neurosyphilis as a secondary cause in 1928. His body was weakened. Ida was most likely infected as well, which would account for her behavior. She died on August 2nd, 1938, and Frank is buried at Fairview Cemetery. This particular source was unable to locate her grave. So, while she was at Randolph County Infirmary, she had asked for a broom one night. The next morning, they found her hanging from the broom that she had placed across the pipes that ran along the ceiling of her room. So, interactions with her spirit have included her telling people to get out of her room in EVPs, and a medium was once told by Ida that she wanted a current staff member there. Now, it's abandoned, they use it as ghost tours, but her spirit had said that she wanted a current staff member dead.
Ooh.
Yeah, she has been known to scratch people and draw blood on those who taunt her. Some, however, aren't actually convinced that it's actually Ida down there, but rather an evil male entity posing as her, which is just fucking terrifying. I hate that whole idea. Yeah. There are some who have seen, now we're in the basement, and which is where her room was. There are some who have seen a creature that chases and terrorizes people. I don't know whether to laugh or to be scared of this entity, but it is often described as a small shadow in the shape of an octopus that moves like it's flying.
Octopus are smart.
They're very smart. But my favorite octopus is in Finding Nemo. Oh, you guys made me ink. So immediately I find humor in this description. But if I were to actually see something like that, I probably would ink. Right. Frankly.
Definitely be inking.
I would definitely be inking. So people have been pinched down here by unseen entities that have drawn blood. That's a hell of a fucking pinch.
That's a lot, yeah.
Now, Laura, you had mentioned a gentleman who had been thrown from a second-story window and died, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So his name was John Champ, And during World War II, he was an 86-year-old man who was living at Randolph County Infirmary when two guys who were kind of known as being bullies in the infirmary went into his room, picked him up by his legs, and basically shoved him out of the window, the fall killing him on impact.
Right.
Yeah. So people report in this area, specifically in his room, people report being grabbed by the neck. And they have felt like they have been punched in the gut, like a knock the wind out of you kind of punch in the gut. Like I said, this is a very violent place. It paranormally, like yeah. So that beautiful attic. Shadow figures are seen in the attic as well as the second floor and the basement from time to time. The sounds of children running up back and forth in the attic have also been reported, as well as one person's account of being scratched on the neck. There are also sounds of door slamming, female conversations, and screaming has been reported. Locals claim that dark energy in the attic comes from the abuse and rape that happened up there. But this has actually not been confirmed as of yet. I'm not really surprised, frankly.
No, I mean, sadly, it's pretty typical.
It is pretty typical. People have often reported feeling that people are rushing at them on the stairs up to the attic, which is very similar to what I felt in the 1910 jail, except that rushing was coming from below me. Right. I was on the second floor, and it felt like it was rushing at me from below. It's not the best feeling. Like, everybody has that like sixth sense, whether they call it that, they believe in it, whatever. Everybody has that feeling of like someone's looking at me or someone's rushing at me. Like your body just has that innate knowledge. And apparently that's common on the stairs up to the attic here. So, additionally, on a first floor stairwell leading to a lower level, the apparition of a lady in white has been seen at the bottom of the stairs, and that eventually walks through the outside door that goes down into the basement.
Okay.
I love how these ghosts stick with the true colors. There's a lady in white, there's a lady in red, there's a lady in blue. Never once heard of a ghost wearing hot pink or a fucking black sequin top. Anyway.
Wait for it, people. Wait for it. It's coming.
That's going to be my ghost. Crashing sounds have been heard in the cafeteria in the basement. Why the cafeteria was in the basement, I don't know. But shadows are frequently seen in the hallways around this cafeteria. Bright flashes of light have been seen that can't be explained. Very strong feelings of being watched throughout the entire building, which doesn't surprise me at all. There was a group that had done an investigation of the infirmary, and I am telling you, Laura, I was super impressed by their findings. And not just by their findings and the evidence that they captured, but the way they documented it. Very scientific, very formal and official. But I saved some of I included some of the evidence that they captured. And so I'm going to read it to you exactly the way that they had written it.
Okay.
So, the first one, while heading to the lower levels via a stairwell, a raspy male voice is heard to say, "All right, get out." All right, sure. While conducting a ghost box session in the basement, which is also like spirit box session, in the basement cafeteria, a question was asked, "Can you say hello?" The ghost box responds with a reply that sounds like hello. Okay, that's fair. I really love the detail and just the frankness that they write this report with. This is my favorite. While listening to our guide talk about a psychic who was greatly shook up concerning an experience she had, in the background of this recording, a raspy male voice says, "Get fucked." I was like, okay, a little saucy.
He sounds fun.
Right. While conducting an Ovilus session in the room with the jail cell, apparently they had a jail cell. Jail sale? I might be coming a little bit south.
That was what they kind of alluded to in my part when they're talking about they had like a place where they put people that they were waiting, that the local authorities had to come get. Maybe that's where they put them.
Maybe that is. So in this room with the jail cell, a question is asked, is anybody here? The Ovilus then turned on and the first word pronounced in the dictionary was ghost. I would love to get an Ovilus, but apparently they are very difficult to find. They're not quite made anymore, or they're like being revamped. But if you find one, they're like $500, and I'm like, I don't want one that bad. While conducting an EVP session on the first floor hallway and while sitting in a wheelchair, I had noticed a stick figure standing along a wall in between two rooms. Someone took a picture right after the camera sound, a very faint male voice says, "Leave me alone."
That's good. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a really good one. While conducting an Ovilus session in the first floor hallway and while somebody was sitting in a wheelchair, a question was asked, "What am I sitting in?" The Ovilus responds with shit. So they got some humor, I think. I mean, kind of.
I agree.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. Shuffling sounds were also heard by this group and documented. It was just really, really quite interesting. The last one, while conducting an Ovilus session in the cafeteria in the basement and after seeing a stick figure near a doorway, the Ovilus says, "Who are you, men?" Usually the Ovilus just spits out like one word. So this is really interesting. The conclusions of this group and their findings were, quote, "There seemed to be an intelligent spirit residing within the walls of Randolph County Infirmary, as evidenced by the direct responses we had during our EVP, Ghost Box, and Ovilus sessions. In fact, it seemed to me that at least one spirit followed our team around during the initial walkthrough and later in the investigation. Some of the other sounds, noises, shuffles could have been simply residual in nature, spirits doing what they might have done while they were still alive and living in this facility. This is an investigator's dream come true. A location fairly isolated with little traffic and other forms of contamination," which is very important. If you guys watched the 1910 jail recap that we did, a lot of the EVPs that we played, there was a lot of extraneous noise, traffic, cats. I mean, this place does, as far as the location, does sound like an investigator's dream come true. A few cars did drive by, were very easily recognized as normal vehicular traffic, and could not be misconstrued for anything paranormal. So, for those of you who listen to the podcast but have never seen Destination Fear, Laura, have you watched this episode?
This episode? No, I have not.
Yeah. It's really good.
Is it?
Yeah. So apparently the group had actually gone there like 5 years before, and Tanner was alone in the basement. While he was alone in the basement, the cameras captured a door at the end of the basement near the kitchen opening on its own. And they showed that footage. It was really quite interesting. So before they got to the location, they met with a guy named Stan, who was a local paranormal investigator, and he too had mentioned that same door that Tanner had heard opening but didn't see because he was in pitch black, but that the cameras had caught. Apparently, with this guy, that same door slammed closed on him and actually shut him in that room.
Ew.
Yeah, right? That's what I said. Ew. He also said that he had set up a laser grid in the attic, and they actually show his footage. And in it, you see the laser grid in the attic, like we did at Old Hospital on College Hill, with a camera trained on it, and they left it just run. You can see shadow figures go back and forth across the laser grid. Yeah. So he left them with a warning against provoking any spirit in this building and said that they will do them harm. Which it sounds like they will. It sounds like a very paranormally violent place.
Yeah, which you don't, I mean, normally you get like one maybe in a location, and that's still even fairly rare that there's something aggressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it sounds like everyone that you've talked about so far. Like, so maybe the guy waving to people that are coming, but
right?
It sounds like all the ones like most of the ones inside are pretty vicious.
Pretty vicious, yeah. So there was also a situation where, you know how in Destination Fear, Dakota has an idea and he's like, I think somebody should go down somewhere creepy by themselves. Right. So in this episode, it's Chelsea and she has to go down to the basement. So she's down there and she's sitting outside of Ida. It's always Chelsea in a basement. I mean, it's ridiculous. She actually slept in the basement at Phelps, now that I think about it. She was the one that got the fucking basement. But she was sitting outside of Ida's room and she's talking to the camera about, I don't know, something. And she pauses. And in just like I'm doing right now, I'm just pausing in my normal like talk. You hear a little old lady from what appears to be down the hall say hello. Like a little old grandma voice. Hello? Yes. And Chelsea screams bloody fucking murder.
As she does.
I do love the show, but goddamn, these guys get freaked out and scream a lot. The guys do too, actually. But so she gets freaked out. She walkies for the guys to come back, and so they go down there. They race to her, of course, and they're doing a session, and they. They're all down there with her, and they're doing an EVP session or whatever, and they hear the same voice.
Oh, that's
this woman's voice call out to them again. Again, they all scream and run out, and I'm like, okay, you can't run from it.
Right, you're supposed to, like, you're actually there to look for them, and then they come to you and you're like, I gotta fucking bail.
Right, exactly. Exactly. So they go back in, and they go into the kitchen where they think it comes from. And in the kitchen, they actually have a picture of a woman whose name was Doris. And I guess Doris had been at the infirmary since she was, I think they said 11.
Oh, yeah. I did see stuff about Doris, I think.
Yeah, and her father had been there at one point, and then she actually got sent back and then watched him die.
Yeah, she saw her father die.
Yeah, of a heart attack, yeah. But she worked in the kitchen and she ended up dying at the infirmary. So she, it very well could have been her, or it could have been this thing that the few investigators think is a male violent or evil entity posing as Ida. There's a lot of questions. It was hella creepy. I encourage everybody to watch it. I did not do it justice. I really didn't spoil anything. Like, really watch it because it's a really great episode. If you can, deal with the screaming. Essentially, yeah. So that's what I have on the hauntings of the Randolph County Infirmary, guys. I do want to say in closing that this place is like so many others, right? It's the same good intent when it started, the same bad ending, the same tragic lives the people who lived there had. So it's I'm sure that to some, us covering these locations is like hearing the same story and hauntings repeatedly, but it's not the same. Each of these places deserve to have their story told because each person who lived there deserves to be discussed. So while the stories might be similar, there was only one John Champ. There was only one Ida Gunkle. Just like there was only one Dean Matheny, like a Trans-Allegheny, like one Rebecca at St. Albans. So we are going to keep telling these stories because while the story sounds the same, every life was actually very different. So that's what I have.
Well said.
Thank you. Yeah. So
there are the similarities in the context of how these people ended up in these places and how these places were run and how they were treated. But
yeah,
agreed. I mean, these are all individuals, and I think that a lot of the stories, I mean, the personal stories are what really makes it interesting.
I think so too. I really think so too, because I mean, it's all from all different parts of the United States, certainly all different parts of the world, and lifestyles and things like that are very different in those localities, right? They all deserve to have their story told. They're tragic and they're sad. And again, they all started the same. Hey, we're going to revolutionize this. Oh, hey, we're overrun. Oh, hey, this is a dumpster fire and we need to shut it down. Like, we get it. But in between all of that are very real lives, very real souls. So we're going to keep telling these stories about asylums and sanatoriums. And if you don't like it, well, you know what? There are plenty of other podcasts that you can listen to.
But don't keep listening to this one. I mean,
yeah. So anyway, that is that, guys. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you have a really fabulous and wonderful new year. And we hope that Laura will tell you all about where you can find us. It's not going to change in 2022. Laura, take it away.
You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at HOAH Podcast. And on the TikTok at HOAH Podcast, at HOAH Carrie, and at HOAH co-host Laura.
Yay!
Woo!
That is it. That is our last episode of 2021, guys. Thanks for sticking with us. It was a bumpy ride. We had, we lost Archie and we were very sad about that. But we gained Laura and she is doing phenomenal. Laura and I have big plans for the podcast and for each other coming up in 2022. We certainly hope you will stick with us. Please join us on Patreon, patreon.com/HOAH podcast. $2 donor levels, $5 donor levels. You get gifts, you get goodies, you get Christmas gifts, Halloween gifts. Laura and I are just whoring ourselves out to you. Come on over. And to that end, Laura, this is our last recording until the new year. I hope you have a very safe trip. I know I'm going to talk to you a bazillion times. Please try to TikTok some shit because,
I know I'm a little TikTok deficient. I will work on it.
Okay.
Maybe that should be my resolution.
Maybe that should be your resolution.
Found one for me.
There you go.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I hope your holidays are amazing and your New Year's gives you a great start to 2022.
Yes. And just remember, beer before liquor, never sicker. Liquor before beer, everything is clear. Anyway, love you, Laura. I love you so much.
Love you, Carrie.
I love Zane and I love Kitty Fantastico. And I'm looking so forward to another year with this psychosis that we share together.
Me too. And much love to the fam.
Yes, absolutely. All right, guys.
And all the puppies.
All the so many puppies. My God. I think we're getting another one in 2022, actually.
That is a psychosis right there.
It is. It is. I'm telling you what. Anyway, bye, guys. Happy New Year. We love you. And we will see you with a brand new bunch of episodes coming up next year. Bye.
Bye.